Hey guys, let's chat a little bit. All right, so I saw a question. I've seen it a little bit coming up in lately. As we're mid-May now, starting going into June, which means we're already going to be starting fall marathon training soon. So I thought a great question. I apologize, I don't remember. I didn't look at the name who asked it, but they asked a question in the Facebook group about essentially it was about going how do you approach the time frame before the schedule starts and then how you go into the start of the marathon training schedule. And I think that's a great question. For me, there's two big criteria that you have to meet. One, you have to make sure you're healthy and you're recovered. So if you were banged up a little bit after your marathon segment, for instance, so a lot of people are coming off spring marathons and they have a little bit of time. We have some May marathons still with like Buffalo's coming up next weekend, Bayshore here in Michigan, and then Grandma's even in June. So we still have a few little bit larger, more popular marathons coming up, but a lot of people ran marathons sometime in April. Hopefully they took their time off and are coming back now, but they have a little bit of time now, 4, 6, 8 weeks. And so you really have to be careful. But the biggest thing is make sure that you're healthy and you're recovered. If you didn't take the time off, I'm not saying you have necessarily to take the time off now, but don't get yourself into something that isn't going to allow you to fully recover going into the next segment. You don't want to start a segment where you're banged up a little bit, you don't feel very good. You wouldn't say you're injured, but you kind of got some issues, right? Maybe a little bit of calf issues or hamstring issues or whatever the case is. It's not stopping you from running, but it's not 100% either. I would make sure that those are taken care of. That would be my first thing that I would do. The second thing I would do would just be to make sure you've had some sort of break, especially if you're coming off of a marathon segment. You don't want to just jump in from one segment to the next. And that's true for any segment, but in particular for the marathon, because it's just so hard on your body if you're never really fully recovering. And taking 2 weeks off is fine. And people struggle with doing that sometimes, but you can even go as far as just running light and easy for a month, right? Just letting everything kind of just settle down. You can catch back up on some things that you've missed, whatever the case is. Like, you can't be hardcore all the time in training. And if you are, a lot of times you find yourself burnt out, things like that, right? You just can't, it's just not sustainable for incredibly long periods of time, right? Having those planned breaks are good mentally, they're good physically. And I would recommend making sure you've done some sort of break going into your next segment. So just a couple different scenarios that I usually encounter with people. If you're coming off a marathon in the last 2 to 6 weeks, we talked about this. Make sure you're recovered. If you are running, I would just do light running. I wouldn't even really necessarily worry about workouts at all. I would just enjoy running, enjoy the easiness of it, enjoy the sunshine in the springtime, and just enjoy life with it right now. Just focus on building your volume. If the volume was hard for you, if you'd say you did, the Hanson's Marathon Method and you ran an April marathon and the volume was pretty intense for you, now's a good time to just kind of build up to that volume where there's no requirements of workouts or anything like that. And then you can just kind of allow your body to adapt to the volume, and then the intensity will come. And then you'll actually back down when you start the marathon program. So you'll actually give yourself a little bit more of a break. But make sure you're recovered, light running, no workouts, just focus on building the volume up slowly and gradually up until you feel comfortable. So, and that's the case, and then we can talk about whether or not you reduce the volume going into a marathon segment, especially for the beginner marathon program, because you drop way down at the start. And I'll actually post a blog. I have a blog on that. I will post down below as well. The second scenario I see is if you're coming off of a shorter race segment, and here I'm talking more like usually like a half marathon plan, but it could be a 10K plan, something where you're really focused more on lactate threshold type of work. If you're doing that, then I would, and say you have 4, 5, 6 weeks, then I would say just do some sort of base volume, right? Like, you don't have to scale your volume way back, but you've got to recover from that intensity, which is going to allow you to go right into the marathon segment. And you're not going to lose the fitness. You're not going to lose what you've worked hard to gain over the previous segment. But now you're just allowing your body to maintain its current physical level, but recover from all the work that you've done. And that's where I would focus. So maintain mileage. You could maybe even experiment with higher mileage, but just take the workouts out of it, right? So if you know that you're going to get up to 50, 60 miles a week and you've never been there before, maybe you've been up to 20 or 30. Well, maybe you can get up to 30 or 40 now, and not do any workouts and just work on getting up to 6 days a week, building the volume of the mileage that you're going to a company that you're going to approach when you get into the schedule. And it's a lot easier thing to do. Again, you're adapting to one of the variables that are going to get changed on you, but you're not overloading yourself, and then you're still actually going to be able to recover pretty well. If you take into the other thing that I said, give yourself a little bit of time to recover going into that next segment. It doesn't have to be 2 weeks, taking 2 weeks off, but it could be, a week of easy mileage where you reduce the mileage back down, like maybe 50 to 60% of what you were doing, and then jump right into the schedule the next week, right? So it doesn't have to be 2 weeks off like it would be after a marathon segment, but you definitely want to make sure that you maybe building that volume up, and then plateau, and then come down a little bit, and then jump into the marathon plan. You'll be good to go. If you are coming from a speed segment, which I would say a 5K or faster type of segment, you're going to want to take 3 to 5 days. I would probably take like 3 days off, maybe up to 5 days off, and then just start rebuilding your volume over the next week or so and going into the marathon plan. And when you get into that marathon plan, I would put the focus more on 10K pace work, since you just spent a segment doing 5K and faster work. You don't need to rehash that. You've already gotten out of it what you need to get out of it. Focus on the slower stuff. Focus more on the lactate threshold type of work for when you go into the marathon. That's going to help you more at that point. So that's how I would do it. But the two big things to remember: make sure you're recovered and make sure you're healthy. You don't want to go into a marathon segment at 85, 90, 95%. You want to be pretty much 100% going into a marathon segment, and take some sort of break, the week or so before you start the marathon plan. If you're coming off of a segment, right? It doesn't have to be time off. It doesn't necessarily have to be rest days where you're not doing anything, but you shouldn't be doing anything of any intensity in that week or so before. And I would probably reduce my volume down from what you had been doing, just to kind of hit the reset button and then start the marathon program. Because what a lot of people will do is they'll just jump in from one segment to the next, from spring starting into the summer and going into the fall. And I think sometimes because they want to race a little bit over the summer, this or that, and they feel like they need to. The truth is, like, it's really just hitting the reset button. You're really not going to lose very much fitness at all, if any. But you're just kind of mentally and physically hitting that reset button to start a new segment. Because otherwise, that 18-week segment, which we know is going to be pretty tough already, we're taking that 18-week segment and adding on everything that we just did. We're not giving ourselves any type of break going into that. So we're taking that 18-week segment, and we're easily making it a 30-week, 36-week segment, where that's when you start seeing people get in 6-8 weeks into the marathon plan, and you're spent, right? Because they never took that break, and they're just overwhelmed. They've overcooked themselves, and so now they're going to be forced into taking some sort of break, which is not the best timing, because now they're going to be getting to the point where they need to really be focusing on marathon training, and they can't, because they've got to recover from never taking a break a couple months before that. So take a little bit of break now, and then jump into the marathon segment. So hopefully that helps you. If you're looking for base plans, we have those. If you're looking for a short speed segment, we have those as well. And then I would really encourage you all to check out the marathon program we're doing for the fall. Starts June 1st, which would be for the Chicago wine glass type of marathons. And then we have start dates, 18 weeks out from all the major marathons. So for me, it'd be Detroit, which is a big one for us around here. And then, Chicago, Detroit, Indianapolis, New York City, and then CIM, which are the bigger fall marathons. So we would love to have you. We're starting to fill up spots, especially for the Chicago segment. We're getting some people in there. So, enjoy company around you who are going through the same thing that you're going through, and then get the coaching from me without having a personal coach on there. But you're going to have access to me, and I'm going to jump into. This is already some of the stuff we've talked about in that group, right? So this is kind of a taste of what we talk about on a regular basis in that group. So I will post the links to those as well. So I'll post a link to the blog that you might want to check out, and then some of the links for either training plans or joining the fall marathon program. So, all right, hope that helps some people out. I will talk to you later. See you.